My father-in-law led a smear campaign against me and came between me and my wife. I'm lost. How do I forge forward? My wife and I aren't in a good place. It's not a fun feeling. I feel context is important here. We're college sweethearts, married for 6 years, and have a daughter 4 years old. Our constant hurdle is family. It's like having to validate our relationship. I always thought my wife was worth it, though. I haven't felt for anyone else the way I do about her. My wife's family is very old school. They're conservative in their beliefs and values. My father-in-law is treated as the captain and looked to as the head. My relationship with him was never smooth, not for my lack of trying. His putting up with me only came after my daughter. I don't believe he's ever thought I was good enough for his daughter. I wasn't his first choice or in his top 5. I don't share their gated community or fancy school's background. My father-in-law always had some backhanded remark about my upbringing. During a family gathering at my in-laws last Christmas, my father-in-law's iPad went missing. He blew a fuse and accused me of stealing it. His reasoning was that there was a period of time when I was alone in the house. I was never actually alone in the house. I was helping my mother-in-law in the kitchen because people were kicking back their feet while she was slaving away for a big family. There was no reasoning with him. He called the police and actually told the officers how a real man would own up when caught, but I was never taught to be a man, another backhanded remark. I was raised in a household of women. My father-in-law once expressed that only a man can raise a boy into a man. I spoke up for myself during his rantings. The whole situation was humiliating, but I had nothing to hide. The officers had to de-escalate and stood around until everyone went their separate ways. My father-in-law did a smear campaign on social media, accusing me of theft and saying that I wasn't family. Some real vicious stuff was said. It impacted my life. I lost a job opportunity because his post came up in the vetting process. The company was rebranding and didn't want drama associated. Essentially, I was shunned from the family. There were those who didn't agree with my father-in-law, but they wanted to stay out of it. No one wanted to cross him. I was no longer welcome on my in-laws' property until I confessed and apologized. My wife still attended everything without me and took our daughter with her, even on New Year's Eve. I wanted to spend it with her and our daughter, but she chose to appease her dad and keep tradition. During all of my father-in-law's accusations, the smear campaign and shunning, my wife didn't lend me support in any way. She bowed to her dad and would tell me to just apologize. She said I was being stubborn by refusing. It wasn't about apologizing. My father-in-law wanted me to beg. I'm not a prideful person, but I'm not getting on my knees and pleading for forgiveness for something I didn't commit. My wife said she was only trying to keep the peace instead of being right. Once my father-in-law badmouthed me around our daughter, and my wife never spoke up. She claimed she didn't hear him. I don't believe she would have done anything either way. Our daughter kept me afloat. I put my foot down on her attending gatherings after the badmouthing. My wife accused me of escalating by withholding our daughter. I felt my father-in-law try to influence my child against me. My move was for boundaries. I wasn't asking my wife to cut off her dad. I know how important family is to her, but we're married. We have a child. We made vows. I only wanted her to be there for me as my partner and best friend. She abandoned me. I had more support from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law than I ever did from her. We fought a lot. We were pushed to a new level of argument. I held everything in, and we'd blow up. My wife said she'd dealt with her dad her whole life, and she learned sometimes it was better to just yield. About a month ago, my name was cleared. My sister-in-law found the iPad in her 9-year-old son's room. He confessed to taking it. He was afraid to say anything after my father-in-law's reaction to me. My father-in-law has never apologized or publicly recanted. He acts like nothing happened, and the rest of the family followed suit. He had my mother-in-law relay that I was welcome to their home again. Others began inviting me to functions. I've declined for myself and my daughter. I'm not holding grudges or using my daughter as punishment. I saw who my father-in-law was clearly. I don't want any involvement with him unless necessary, nor is my daughter allowed to have unsupervised visits with him. I don't want her exposed to the ugliness. The situation remains a sore in my marriage. My wife won't talk about it. If I try, she says I'm throwing the past in her face. I'm just trying to open up to her about how everything still affects me. She feels I'm not working toward keeping the peace. My father-in-law falsely accused me of theft, led a smear campaign, badmouthed me around our daughter, and was enabled by some family. This is me keeping the peace. I don't know if this post is the right call. My wife wouldn't approve, but there's no talking to her about this in any real way. I'm lost. We've never been so disconnected. I'm in love with her. I wouldn't have stayed if I wasn't. I want to work on our marriage and do right by our daughter. I don't regret my choice on my father-in-law, but I am questioning if I'm making things worse. I feel alone. I need a fresh perspective. How do I move forward as healthily as possible for my marriage when I don't know where to step? I want to thank everyone for the support. I appreciate it. The original post was the first time I put everything out there and didn't feel dismissed. The situation with my father-in-law was extensive and largely unaddressed by my wife. It occurred to me that not being able to open up to her, I didn't know how to communicate with her anymore. The feedback I received was a real eye-opener. My issue isn't isolated to my father-in-law. This isn't solely a spat with in-laws. It's an issue involving my wife. Things with my father-in-law are what they are. I'm not seeking a deeper connection with him. We're in-laws, nothing more, nothing less, and he made it abundantly clear in his smear campaign that I wasn't family, but a hurdle the family needed to overcome. My concern is my wife and our daughter. They're my family and my focus. That said, I realize I can't make my wife do anything. I can't make her communicate with me. I can't make her instill boundaries with her dad. I only have a say for myself and our daughter. I know something needs to change. Our marriage can't be sustained this way. It's not good for anyone, especially our daughter. After getting my feelings out, I felt more resolved with what I needed to do. I don't know if ultimatum is the right term, because I wasn't trying to force her to choose anything. I'm just trying to implement boundaries for our daughter and our marriage. I told her that things needed to change because our marriage couldn't survive like this. No one should feel alone or abandoned in their marriage. The options were either couples, therapy, or separation. She didn't take to separation well. She seemed repulsed by it. She said she knew we weren't in a good place, but she didn't realize that was where I was at and how we made vows and our bond is supposed to withstand. She feels her dad shouldn't take away from us. I told her I wasn't taking separation lightly. Our vows do mean something, but whether she admits it or not, she checked out on our vows in favor of her dad. It wasn't keeping the peace. It was me drowning while she was on her dad's boat and never tossed me a line. Our issues are bigger than just her dad. Our current way, isn't it? My wife chose therapy. We found a therapist, and it's officially scheduled. I want to be hopeful, but that's not something I've let myself feel for a bit now. I don't believe she was only telling me what she thought I wanted to hear. I saw the reality of it hit her when separation was put on the table. I asked her if marriage counseling was something she really wanted. I'm not talking about the sometimes it's better to yield thing she said about her dad or for keeping the peace. I was asking what she genuinely wanted. She said it was, and that she doesn't want to lose our relationship or our family. Some have questioned why I'd want to try working on my marriage. It's not about staying for our daughter. I want to make a real attempt for my family and see if things can be mended. I know there's more to my wife than just my father-in-law. I fell in love with her because of who she was as a person. When we met and got to know each other, it was away from her dad. I saw how caring she was for others, even if she didn't agree with their point of view, how decent she was, and how she had a weight off her shoulders with. Distance from her dad's shadow. My wife is the youngest of her siblings, and I would say my in-laws hold on to her more tightly. I didn't know how bad things were until I actually dealt with my father-in-law. It's why she chose a long-distance school and didn't go home on breaks often. Her work moved us closer to home, and she was back into the fold fully. My father-in-law's smear campaign was our first major obstacle following that. I'm in love with my wife, but I'm not speaking out of blind love. Whether we're together or not, I want the best for her. Part of my hope for marriage counseling is that she regains sight of herself separate from her dad and sees that boundaries for herself aren't crossing a line. Maybe we can recover together and come out better for it. I know we got married a little young. Trust me, we'd heard our fair share from the skeptics, but I was always sure of my wife. Marriage wasn't something I took lightly. I didn't expect there to be anything but clear skies. But we should want more from each other. Being there for each other and emotional intimacy are the bare minimum. We should be a team. Our family is the core before any other relationship. To me, our vows mean consciously choosing each other and committing to each other, even when it's hard. I don't know what counseling will bring. It'll be my first experience with therapy. All I can do is take everything one step at a time and reaffirm boundaries for myself and my daughter. I'm not withholding my daughter as punishment or holding grudges. I don't even want an apology from my father-in-law because I know it'll be empty. I'm just done giving him any more power. I'm protecting my daughter too. To those who haven't experienced something like this, I hope you never will. And for those in a similar struggle, I hope for nothing but the best for you. You're not alone. Thank you for showing me that I'm not either. I broke up with my girlfriend of 3 years because she wanted to remain a virgin. Now she wants to get back together, but told me she had sex with someone else when we were broken up. How should I proceed? I met my ex 3 years ago. We lived on campus at uni in different halls of residence. After a few months, we got together and, for the most part, had a very happy relationship. There was always one issue, though. My ex grew up in a very religious home. Her father is a pastor. She has been open with her family that she does not share their faith. They weren't happy about it, but accepted that she has to make her own choices on that. Nevertheless, I think some of that religious upbringing was still in her mind. I grew up in a different religion, but was never very serious about it, and am no longer religious. Our relationship was pretty normal, except that she told me very early that she was a virgin, and wanted to stay that way until she was married. It wasn't for religious reasons. As I mentioned, she isn't religious. But she was very focused on not disappointing her dad. We did other sexual things, just not intercourse. I never had much luck with girls growing up. And going into the relationship, I was a virgin. And I still am. At least if you classify being a virgin as never having had intercourse. Anyway, I was becoming more resentful of the fact that everyone I know was having normal sexual relationships and we weren't. I couldn't understand why she didn't want to have a full sexual relationship, though of course I never pressured her about it. I felt that while I was at uni and pretty broke, getting married was something for the future. Last year, I was in my last year of uni, and she was working in her first professional job. Her degree was shorter than mine, so she finished uni first, despite being younger than me. She was talking a lot about all the successful guys she met at work, which did make me feel lesser, as I was still a broke uni student. Coupled with her still not wanting a full sexual relationship, it did make me feel more resentful. We had some arguments about it, and after a while I felt that I should end the relationship as we wanted different things and our lives were on different paths. It was awful. She was crying a lot, and I felt terrible afterwards. Anyway, it has been nearly 6 months since we broke up. We haven't been in touch at all for most of that time. I have not been involved with anyone else in that time, as I was 100% focused on finishing my degree. I have finally finished uni, and am about to start my first professional job. She recently got in touch again, and asked to meet up. I was hesitant, but decided we had so much good history that I should hear her out. She told me she's been missing me terribly these past 6 months, that she thinks she wants to get back together, and is open to having a sexual relationship now. I asked her why now, what changed? And she looked uncomfortable. After a little prying, she said she had a short-term fling with one of the older guys at work while we were broken up, which of course was fine as she wasn't my girlfriend anymore. Anyway, she said he persisted with her until she started having sex with him. She ended it with him recently. She was clear that it was consensual, but that the guy was very persistent with pursuing sex with her. I was gutted. I couldn't understand why she'd make me wait all those years, but was fine doing it with some new guy she'd only been seeing for a short time. I asked if the reason she was open to having a sexual relationship now is because she wasn't a virgin anymore. She said yes. I asked her to give me some space to process all this. I'm conflicted and would love some advice on this. I have missed her a lot and still have strong feelings for her. But at the same time, it feels like I was strung along for years. It's hard to put my finger on why I don't want to take her back. Everything logically makes sense for us to get back together. I'd even get to finally have a sexual relationship with her. But I feel awful about this whole thing and don't want to ignore those feelings. Update. This is an update to my last post. Hello again. I appreciate people taking the time to comment on my last post. The response was a lot more than I expected, with over 2,000 comments. I'm amazed so many people wanted to comment about my situation. Thank you. Warning, this post is long. I have kept a daily journal since I was 16. A lot of what follows is dumps from my journal. Yes, I know I'm not concise. I'm going to refer to my ex as Ellie, not her real name. I'd like to write a bit about the comments because so many people took the time to provide their thoughts, and I appreciate that. The majority of comments were some variation of move on, a clean break, a strong recommendation with a lot to recommend it. A minority said, give her a chance and see how it goes. Plenty called me an arsehole for ending it, because I wanted sex in our relationship, or for being obsessed with her virginity that I dumped her because she wouldn't put out. And quite a few saying my breaking up with her made her feel like sex is necessary to keep a guy, and that it drove her heartbroken into the next guy's bed. There were a few she's pregnant comments. Not that I know of. It's not impossible, but if that happens, it won't be anything to do with me. The dude saying I should fuck her and leave her, or worse. Seriously, some of you guys need a hug or a psychologist. No, I would never use her like that, no matter our past. Ellie and I were a loving couple for years. That counts for something, even after we broke up. Feeding her doesn't justify using her, or anyone else for that matter. As for comments that I have some hang up about taking her virginity, my issue when together was that we weren't having sex in our relationship, not whether she was a virgin or not. Her being a virgin was her reason for being abstinent, but it wasn't directly an issue either way to me. If she hadn't been a virgin and wanted to be abstinent, I would have been in the same situation. The title of my last post was not great, really. I broke up because we were not having sex, not because she was a virgin. Bear in mind, for 3 years, Ellie had everything she wanted from our relationship. Boyfriend, love, affection, loyalty, support, and a guy who respected her wishes to be abstinent. While she got 100% of what she wanted, for me, there was a big element missing, and there was no way to reconcile that. Either we were having sex or not having it. Sex requires both to say yes, and that wasn't going to happen. With hindsight, I should have ended the relationship early on, when Ellie first told me she wanted to not have sex until marriage. When we got together, I was a naive 19-year-old who had never had a girlfriend before, so I kind of went along with things because I really liked her and got along with her so well. I fell in love with her and then kind of felt stuck in a relationship that wasn't what I wanted. I've learned from this and won't make that mistake in the future. I want to make active, not passive, choices in future relationships, to not just go along with things because that's what the other person wants. Our views about sex in our relationship were not compatible, so I ended the relationship rather than waiting any longer, hoping she'd change her mind. It was scary to take that step, and I put it off for way too long because I didn't want to hurt her. But I couldn't stay in the relationship just for her. I had to also consider myself too. My mistake was waiting so long to get to that point. I regret that, as it caused her more hurt than if I'd ended it early on. Many of you say that sex just isn't that important, but for me, it is, at least as part of a relationship. You can disagree, that's fine. Some people are fine being in no-sex relationships. No judgment from me, but that's not what I want. Some people took issue with me, saying I felt she strung me along. On reflection, that's fair. Ellie was clear to me about wanting to not have sex until marriage. I foolishly stayed way too long, hoping she'd change her mind one day. She didn't. That was my mistake. I strung myself along, really. She never led me on in any way. It hurt to learn that she had sex with the next guy relatively quickly after I waited so long. But she is my ex, so that is not my business anymore. She is allowed to change her mind. She can have sex or not with whoever she chooses. I don't get a say in that. My hurt is an emotional response, not a logical one. Logically, I see she did nothing wrong by me. I'll get over it. It's just my bruised ego, if I'm honest with myself, feeling I'm somehow a lesser man because she took that step with the next guy. I know objectively that isn't true, but I sure feel it. I was not a perfect boyfriend, and I have made mistakes. I have learned from them. I don't regret breaking up with Ellie, and still think it was the right decision for me. Enough background. A few things have happened. Last weekend was the Australia Day long weekend. I was on a camping trip in the Grampians for any Aussies reading. It was so nice to be in nature, to do some bushwalks with friends and decompress. It felt good to talk about the Ellie situation with my mates around the campfire. Most of them knew Ellie pretty well from our years together, and they had a range of views, just like the commenters on my post, and I got the usual good-natured shit about still being a virgin. I learned there's an expensive bottle of scotch they bought a while ago that's going to have its seal cracked when mine is. Bastards. LOL. One great question a friend asked was whether I would have ever decided to reach out and take Ellie back if she had never reached out to me first. The answer is no. It was so obvious to me. That cut through a lot of the confusion for me. I was being too passive in this situation and needed to do what I wanted, not just react to what Ellie wanted. By the time I was on the way home, I had decided to not get back together with her. But that was moot. When I was driving home and got a mobile signal, again, no mobile network where we had camped, the network delivered a bunch of messages from Ellie all at once. She said she was wrong to ask me to get back together, and that she's back with Tim, fake name. Now, she also texted that the thing with Tim is more serious than she told me when she last met with me. She apologized for misleading me about her and Tim's relationship. If you remember, she called it a fling before. She asked if we could meet to talk about it. I was not happy, so I just texted back no. Not very mature of me, but I wasn't in the mood to hear more about all this. And I was surprised and pissed off that she lied to me. That seemed very out of character for her. She tried calling me, but I didn't want to answer. She sent another text saying, "Tim and I had a fight. I shouldn't have come to you. And finally, I'm sorry. When I got home, I was an idiot and let my curiosity get the better of me. I looked up Tim online. His real given name is uncommon, so it wasn't hard to find. Found him on LinkedIn, which gave me his full name. Ellie is one of his connections, and he works at the same firm, so I was confident it was him. He's a director at their firm, one level below partner. He also has pics on Insta. Lots of posts about his adventures around the world at various events and exotic places, as well as shots with an expensive-looking car. A few photos of him with Ellie with their arms around each other in Singapore in November. I guess that confirms it was serious. He wouldn't have public pics with her for a casual fling. All that just made me feel bad. No good comes from comparing myself to my ex's successful boyfriend. Ellie is not my girlfriend, and I'm not in competition with Tim, so I won't do that again. My ego is bruised enough already. I've been living a very frugal life my whole time at uni, aka poor as fuck, so I know I can feel inferior when I see people with wealth. That's another me problem to sort out. Anyway, all that was on Sunday afternoon or evening. On Tuesday evening, Ellie knocked at my door. She said that she knows I didn't want to talk to her, but she felt bad about everything and hoped I would let her explain herself, clear the air, and then I'd never see her again if that's what I wanted. I let her in. I was not happy with recent events, but figured I might at least get a clearer idea of what's going on. It was a long, heavy conversation over 4 hours, but here's the gist as I remember it. When we broke up, she was devastated. She said it took a couple of months before she started to feel a bit better. She missed me constantly and wanted to see me the whole time, but when I ended it, we agreed to keep apart and heal. In September, she met Tim at work. He manages a different team. She doesn't work for him. She said he was very charming and attractive and showed almost immediate interest in her. They got to know each other, and he asked her out. She was worried it was a rebound but felt so much better getting his attention that she went along with it. After dating for a while, she developed feelings for him, and that later led to a sexual relationship. It wasn't a fling, and she dated him for a while beforehand. I asked about whether he had pressured her into sex last time. She said he was very persistent. She said she was trying to not upset me. She thought if she gave the impression she was reluctant to have sex with Tim, that I wouldn't think as badly of her. So it was a story to try and spare my feelings. I told her it just made me worried she had been assaulted. She looked shocked at that and said no way, she was actually the one who initiated their sexual relationship. I said, although I don't like that she lied to me, I can understand why. I don't think she did anything wrong changing her mind about abstinence. Yes, I was hurt when she told me she was having sex, but I have no right to judge her for anything. She's a single adult, and it's her life. I don't think badly of her. She burst into tears and said something like, "I thought you must hate me now." I assured her that I didn't. She said she was sad it didn't work for us, but that she never would have dropped her virginity commitment if we had not broken up. After we broke up, she decided that it was a commitment she made to her dad when she was still a kid, and it was messing with the life she wants now. So, by the time she and Tim got into their relationship, she had already decided she was ready for sex with the right person. I asked about her dad, and she just said he doesn't need to know. I asked about why she asked to get back together. Tim is older. She told me he's 32 and has been at the firm for 10 years. One day at work, one of the women made a snarky comment to Ellie about being another one of Tim's girls. She did some digging, and it turns out Tim has a history. He has dated a long list of women from work. Several of them were young graduate employees. Just like Ellie, the rumor around the office is that Ellie is just the next girl to get used by him. She was horrified. She accused Tim of using her. They argued, and she told him it was over. Soon after that, she came to me. She felt as if we might be able to rekindle things now that she was open to a sexual relationship. But my hesitation and time to calm down made her realize that it was a mistake. Over the weekend, Tim asked her to work things out. She decided to give it a chance. She tried to call me, but they went to voicemail. I was camping, so she sent those messages instead. So I guess that's settled. I don't want her back, and she's in a relationship, so she doesn't want me back either. We chatted a bit about how our families are going. She congratulated me on finally finishing uni. She asked if I had been seeing anyone, and when I told her I'd been studying hard and working a lot since exams, retail job, with no time for girls, she laughed and said I'm still a big nerd. She hoped we could be friendly if we ever saw each other, but she wants to keep out of contact, out of respect for her relationship with Tim. She wants to give it a real chance of working, which is fair enough. She gave me a hug, said thank you for understanding, and left. So there you have it. Ellie involved me in her relationship drama. I would have preferred she hadn't, but at least it's sorted now. I'm glad I paid attention to my feelings and took time out to consider things, as it could have been very messy if I had taken her back. Trusting my gut has been the biggest lesson for me in all this. I still care for her despite recent events. It seems like she is dealing with a lot of complicated things between her new relationship and work gossip. I wish her well and hope she will be happy, whether it's with Tim or not. She was my first love, and I expect I'll always have warm memories of her. But I am clear now that I don't want her back. She is my past, and I want to look forward. Well, this has become an essay. Tutors at uni always told me I was too waffly in my writing. Well, fuck those guys. I'm not a student anymore. I can now focus on launching my new career with no distractions. I've worked so hard for so long to get here. My new job starts on Monday. It's going to be so great building actual real experience in my new profession, not just endless theory. I'll be earning much better money. No more student poverty. And I've got graduation in May to look forward to as well. I'm open to finding someone new, but that is way down my priority list. I'm not going to actively pursue that anytime soon. Cheers everyone for your comments and advice. Edit next day. Okay, you've convinced me. Today I blocked Ellie on everything. Since we agreed not to be in touch again, that shouldn't matter, but if she doesn't stick to that agreement, e.g. if she and Tim split or fight again, then it won't be easy for her to contact me again. I thought it was a petty thing to block someone, but in this case, you've convinced me that it's a way to take control of the situation. With luck, I won't hear from her again, and if I do, like if she knocks on the door, I'll remind her of our agreement and shut her off. Time to stop being passive and take charge of my life, a life Ellie will not be part of. Bumped into Ellie again. Hi, I'm the guy from this post and update. My old throwaway got blocked, so I had to make this new one. I learn a lot through that experience and believe that I'm a little less naive than I was. Many of you said I would see Ellie again. You were right. There was some confusion in comments previously about dates of graduation and work. I'm an Australian living in Melbourne. University here runs from late February or early March to November each year. Our summer holidays are in December to February. Graduate intakes into companies are usually in February each year. If you recall from my previous posts, my ex Ellie and I mutually agreed to be no contact after some drama on her part. At the urging of Redditors, I also blocked her to help maintain no contact. I've been working since February as a graduate engineer, and it's been everything I hoped it would be. I'm meeting amazing, smart people, learning so much every day, and I'm finally earning a salary after years of being a broke student. Having a little money in the bank and being able to afford to do things like eating out is such a nice change. When I finished uni in November, I moved in with my brother temporarily. He'd just broken up with his ex and needed help with his rent. That's where I was living when Ellie last came to see me. He found a new housemate, and since his place was on the wrong side of the CBD for my job, I moved into a share house in the southeast of Melbourne. The place is a bit run down, but the rent is reasonable by insane Melbourne standards, and there are lots of pubs, bars, and restaurants nearby. The location and my housemates have been great. I'm seeing someone. I'll call her Olivia, not her real name. She's the sister of one of my housemates. We met when my housemates and I had a barbecue, and she dropped by. We got talking, and were still talking hours later, until everyone else had left. Her brother told us to shut up, so he could get some sleep. Haha. I asked her out that week, and we've been close since. My housemate, who's her brother, has been making fun of us ever since, including more than a few crude jokes when she stays over. We agreed to be exclusive 6 weeks ago, so it's still quite new. She's so cool and smart and gorgeous. The chemistry was instant and intense from the moment we met. We just clicked so well. It's such a great time when we're together. Olivia is an accountant at a big firm. One of Olivia's workmates was having a party last month. She asked me to come to meet some of her work friends. We went inside and Olivia introduced me to the woman who hosted the party, her workmate Jess. There would have been maybe 40 to 50 people there. I didn't know anyone but Olivia. At one point, I offered to grab more drinks. The kitchen was in a separate room. As I was getting them, a guy asked me to pass him a beer from the fridge. I introduced myself and he said, "Hi, I'm Tim." Fake name from my last post. He actually said his unusual name. We chatted for a couple of minutes about our jobs and how we know Jess. Then I just said nice to meet you and returned to the group. I didn't recognize his face as I'd never met him before, but it was definitely Ellie's Tim, his job and firm lined up, and he looked in his 30s, a bit older than most people at the party. Neither of us mentioned Ellie when we were talking. Later on, I asked Jess how she knew Tim. She said she used to work at the same firm as Tim, also where Ellie works, but she moved to another employer where Olivia works. Despite living in a city of 5 million, it's still a small world. On the tram ride home, I must have been quiet because Olivia asked what was on my mind. I said that the Tim guy at the party was, or maybe still is, my ex's boyfriend. I said I didn't think he knew who I was, or if he did, he didn't say anything. That prompted me to share some history about me and Ellie. Olivia was wide-eyed and said, "You never told me you were a virgin." Then she laughed and said, "Well, we took care of that." She asked if I had any feelings for Ellie, and I truthfully said no. I dealt with all that months ago. More recently, there was a formal charity dinner that Olivia was asked to support. Her employer was a sponsor of the event. She was keen to show me off. We were at a table with a bunch of her work colleagues. Nice people. One of her work friends was so excited to meet me and said, "Olivia can't stop talking about you." That made me feel really good. After dinner a few of us were chatting, and I got a tap on the shoulder. I turned around, and to my surprise it was Ellie. Tim was with her. It was so weird to see her again. Tim said he remembered meeting me at that party, but never made the connection to Ellie until just now. She must have told him about me. Ellie looked very different. She had lost a lot of weight and was very slim. The tight red dress she was wearing made that obvious her dad would not approve. Not that she was ever overweight, but I'd never seen her that thin before. She was immaculately made up with what looked, to my ignorant eye, like expensive jewelry. She'd changed her hair too, now blonde instead of her natural auburn. She looked like a sleek, rich girl, not the poor pastor's daughter I remember. Don't get me wrong, she looked amazing, but she looked like a different person. I know it was a formal event, so we were all dressed nicely, but this was a major transformation. Despite her glam looks, when I saw her, I didn't feel anything for her. Just nothing. Ellie said she was so glad to see me, and she had some news, holding out her hand to show a diamond engagement ring. I know nothing about diamonds, but it looked pretty big and expensive to me. I offered my congratulations to them both. Just then, Olivia walked back over. I introduced her to Ellie and Tim. Olivia put her arm around me, and Ellie's smile seemed to kind of freeze. I didn't really know what else to say, so I just said, "Nice to see you again," and wished them all the best for the wedding. Tim walked off, and Ellie just sort of stood there a moment. It was awkward. Later on, as we were leaving, Ellie was staring at us as we walked out. Olivia said later that, "I think she still has a thing for you." I said it doesn't matter. Anyway, cut to a few days ago, my brother messaged me, saying Ellie stopped by looking for me. Yes, read it, you were right. He knew to not share my new address with her, so all he said was I'd moved out. The next day, I received an email from an address I hadn't seen before. It was Ellie. No acknowledgement that she was breaking our agreement to be no contact. No mention that she stopped by my old place. It said, "It was so great to see you again. I've missed you. And that girl you were with is pretty. How serious is it?" And telling me she and Tim have big plans for their wedding next year, and she hopes I can come. I was annoyed because she is trying to make her life my business again, despite promising no contact, even going to the trouble to make a new email address to get around me blocking her. I showed Olivia the email, and she rolled her eyes and asked me to think about why my ex would send me that. Why indeed? Olivia is great at cutting through bullshit and reads people way better than I do. Ellie can't have me back. I'm in a relationship now, plus she's engaged, and it's not like I would go to their wedding. Who goes to their ex's wedding? It wouldn't be right. I don't know why she's trying to contact me, but I can guess that she wants to use me for emotional support again. Or maybe things are rocky with Tim. Who knows? Whatever she wants, it's not happening. She has family and friends. Talk to them. I deleted the email and blocked the address without replying. Ellie promised she'd keep out of contact and just couldn't help herself. I still intend to keep my word regarding no contact, even if she doesn't. I've also set up a filter to send any email containing her name to the bin. Olivia and I had a talk after that. I asked if she was concerned about the Ellie thing, but she said no. She's not worried. She didn't get serial killer vibes from Ellie. I'm glad none of this has put her off me. So nothing too dramatic, but it does prove you guys were right. Ellie could not contact me, despite promising to do so. I was able to sidestep her much more easily than last time. Ultimately, this is a good news story. Life is so great right now. I've got a cool new girlfriend, a fun place to live, and a new career I love. It has been easy to leave Ellie behind. A quick warning to you guys, this OP repeated and recapped a lot in her updates, although some of them had little extra details. They weren't as important. So just skip forward a few seconds on each update if you'd like to avoid that. I'm sorry about it, because I know a lot of you would find this annoying. I had a baby as a result of an affair, and now his wife is reaching out to me. I, female, 26, had an affair with a married man, male 42, a few years ago. I had no clue he was married when we first met and hooked up. I obviously looked him up on social media, and while he did have photos of his kids on there was absolutely no mention or photos of a wife at all. I found out that he was married about a month after we first got together, but he told me it was just a marriage on paper, and that they basically lived separate lives and agreed to remain married for practical purposes until the kids were older. They owned a business, which she really ran, and he was just financially involved in. I knew at the time that I probably shouldn't believe him, but I convinced myself it was true. I was in my early 20s and so attracted to him, and I guess almost infatuated with him. He made me feel so good. I know now that I should have ended it immediately, but I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. I was addicted to all of the attention he gave me, the great sex, the places he'd take me. I felt special. I was so naive. I got pregnant about a year into seeing him. I had always been so careful with preventing pregnancy, but during my relationship with him, I took stupid risks. I was so high on lust with this guy, it's embarrassing the things he'd ask me to do. I'd say yes to almost anything even when I knew it was a bad idea. I was in love with him, or I thought I was. I hadn't intentionally wanted to get pregnant. I would of course dream about being his wife and having a family, but I knew that wouldn't be a possibility while he had this arrangement with his actual wife. I didn't get pregnant on purpose with any intention of him leaving her for me, even if I wished that we could be a real, normal couple. I was surprised by how excited I was to be pregnant with his baby. I wanted that baby once I found out I was pregnant. The thought of carrying this baby of the man I loved was so special to me, but I knew he probably wouldn't feel the same. I told him I was pregnant, and he told me I couldn't keep the baby. I expected his reaction, but I was devastated, and it hurt me to my core that he didn't feel the same way I did. He offered to pay to make a whole weekend of it somewhere exciting, what the fuck, and to buy me something special if I just please get rid of the baby. He explained that he didn't want any more kids, and that he couldn't openly be a father to another kid when he and his wife were still pretending to be happily married to the outside world. I agreed to do what he wanted, and we made plans for him to pick me up and find somewhere out of town to go get it done. I was all packed the night he was going to pick me up, but I started to feel really scared and really unsafe about the whole thing. I took my bag and checked myself into a hotel to hide because I couldn't go with him. I texted him to say I promised to never contact him again and to never name him as the father or go after child support if he'd promised to leave me alone. At first, he tried to sweet-talk me into doing what he wanted. When I didn't cave in, he said some very nasty things to me, and that I essentially better never contact him again or show up at his door. I have a 2-year-old now. At times it's been difficult, but overall we are thriving as best we can. I have kept my word about not naming him as the father or requesting child support. His wife contacted me on social media. Well, she's his ex-wife now. She wants to talk to me. She found out about me and told me that she divorced him 6 months ago. She wants her children to know their sibling, and for my child to know his siblings. That's weird to me. I haven't responded back to her yet. I am unsure about how to approach this. How do I respond to this? I wonder if I'm being selfish by not exploring an option for my child to know his siblings, if she's being genuine about that. If I was married and my husband fathered a child outside of our marriage, I don't think I'd feel the same way that she does. Update. I had a baby as a result of an affair, and the man's wife is contacting me. I made a post 3 weeks ago, and things have only gotten stranger. I had an affair with a married man a few years ago. I regret it, and I will never do anything like that ever again. I knew it was wrong from the very beginning, but he captivated me. I was naive. I allowed myself to believe when he told me they were pretty much just married on paper for the sake of their kids. I got pregnant, and while he tried to talk me into getting an abortion, I ultimately decided to keep the baby. I have a 2-year-old little boy now. I promised this man that I wouldn't expose our affair, and I wouldn't formally identify him as the father or request child support. I did that because he was becoming very nasty about the whole thing, and I felt like due to the mess that I had created and the way I felt by the end of it, a clean break with no involvement with him would be the best thing for everyone. I moved back to where my family is, hundreds of miles from where he and his family live. About a month ago, his ex-wife reached out to me via social media, claiming they had been divorced for 6 months, and that she wanted our children to be able to know each other. Now, their kids are teenagers, so I didn't really think they'd want anything to do with the toddler and the woman their father was having an affair with. It seemed odd to me. After posting here, I sort of decided that I wouldn't respond to her. I'd just ignore it. She just sent me the one message, so it wasn't as if she was badgering me about talking to me or meeting me. On Friday night, I decided to message her. I don't really know why. I think it was really just for my sake, so I could have the chance to apologize to her. I told her that I would be more comfortable speaking with her face to face, since I couldn't trust that it was really her. She said she understood. I was too nervous to meet her in person, but we did a video chat. I didn't know what to expect. If this was all a ploy just to unleash her fury on me, or what, I mean, I'd deserve that. She wouldn't be wrong to feel that way. It was really her. She told me she discovered our affair when she found communications between the two of us, after our relationship had ended. She told me I'm one of many women he had affairs with over the years, and she knew about somebody even before he met me, but she didn't divorce him at the time. Finding out about my child was the final straw for her. I told her I was sorry for my relationship with her husband and admitted that I knew he was married. She graciously told me she forgives me, and that, while she harbored a lot of anger towards me initially, she ultimately blames her husband. I'm not blameless, but she chooses to not hate me, essentially. She said she couldn't have said this 6 months ago or a year ago when she first found out about me, but she has moved past that. She still has anger toward him, in addition to many other emotions surrounding him. She started pouring out her heart to me about their 20-plus year marriage and life together, and it was very awkward because what do I even say? Her kids know about me and my son. She says they're very mad at their father. Somehow, I don't think they're mad about the fact that he's not involved with my son's life. And why would they be mad about that? I would hate me if I were them. I told her, with my son being so little right now, I don't really feel comfortable with him meeting her kids or being involved with their family. I feel unsure about it, and it's just not something I feel needs to happen right now. Then she told me her ex-husband was in a bad accident 2 months ago. He's fine now, still not allowed to return to all his normal activities just yet, but he will be fine. He is probably the most physically active person I've ever met, barely ever seems to sit down, so he must be terribly annoying to be around if he's not allowed to go all the time. She told me he wants to meet my son. Apparently, she moved back in with him temporarily when he first came home from the hospital. She said the accident really shook him up, and he has been expressing a lot of regret about my son, not being involved, not providing for him. So now it's like, was everything she said just a lie? And he somehow got her to read out to me on his behalf, and she actually did it. It felt almost like a relief talking to her initially, but then it's like, was any of that true, or were you just trying to be his messenger? I don't even know if that part is true now. Why wouldn't he just contact me himself? I'm just feeling so uneasy about the whole thing now. Update 2. I had a baby as a result of an affair, and the man's wife is contacting me. I posted about this a few months ago. To summarize very quickly, when I was fresh out of college, I had an affair with a married man and father. I became pregnant. He wanted me to get an abortion. He had arranged to take me away on a vacation to get an abortion. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I agreed to go along with what he wanted. At the last minute, when he was on his way to come pick me up, I told him I couldn't go through with the abortion. I just really didn't feel comfortable about his plan and how he was orchestrating everything. It scared me. I realized at that time how deep I had gone with this mistake, how screwed up the whole relationship was. He was really mad. He threatened me, said a lot of nasty things to me. I told him if he just left me alone and let me have my baby, then I'd leave him alone and wouldn't name him as the father or seek child support. I moved back home. I was living in a different state when I met him. I kept my word and didn't name him as the father or seek to establish paternity. I have never sought child support. My child is 2 now. A few months ago, his wife contacted me via social media. At first, she made it seem like she wanted my child to have the opportunity to know his siblings. It was sort of weird, since the siblings are teenagers. She said she had divorced him 6 months prior. I agreed to talk to her virtually, not in person. I felt that I owed it to her to apologize for what I had done. I do feel bad about it, but at the end of the conversation, I told her that I didn't feel it was the appropriate time to connect my son with her kids. He's a toddler, and they're teens, plus I had promised her husband to stay out of his life. That's when she told me that he was recently in a bad accident, and she had been helping to take care of him. Supposedly, he was going to be fine, and was fairly recovered at that point, but she said he had expressed interest in meeting our child, so she was basically his messenger. I have not been in contact with her since then. I deleted my social media. I don't know why, but the whole thing just really made me uncomfortable. Since I last posted here. Then I received a handwritten letter from him. In it, he expressed how he wanted to get to know our son. He wants to be a father to our son. He wants to provide financially for him, and he'd like us to come visit him. He asked me to sign a paternity affidavit. I refused to do so. I know he is my son's father, but I'm not going to make this that easy for him. After the things he said to me and threatened me with, he at least has to work for this. At that point, my parents felt that we needed to meet with a lawyer. All communication from me has gone through a lawyer. I have never responded to him personally or directly. Now I have a court order for paternity. I have to present my son to have a specimen taken tomorrow. I already know what it's going to say. It's not that I don't want my son to have a dad in his life. It's just the whole situation is a mess. And he lives a few states away from me. I don't know what to do. I can't really do anything. He's doing things legally. Next, I'm sure he'll petition for some form of custody or visitation. He's not married anymore, supposedly, but he's a lot more established than I am. He has considerably more financial resources. I also know he has all sorts of connections where he lives. Luckily, they don't hold as much weight here in my state, but it's still so scary to me. I'm a bad mom. I brought my son into this world knowing it was a messy situation. I just got so comfortable with it just being the two of us, and now I don't want to give that up. Another update on how stupid I am. Or I had a baby as a result of an affair, and now his wife is reaching out to me. I won't rehash the whole thing here. My previous posts are on my profile. I got pregnant from an affair with a married guy. He wanted me to have an abortion. I decided I didn't want one. He turned mean. I promised to not name him as the father, legally, or to pursue any sort of child support. I moved away from where he and his family were located. I'm about 12 hours away from him now, back where my family is from. I haven't reached out to him in the now over 3 years since. His ex-wife reached out to me out of the blue via social media, initially claiming she wanted to connect with me, so that our kids could know each other. When I politely declined for the time being, as her kids are teenagers and my son is a toddler and we live states apart, she revealed she was really reaching out on behalf of her ex-husband, who had supposedly had a change of heart about being involved in our child's life after nearly dying in an accident. I did not engage with her any further after that. It all made me feel very uncomfortable. Later, I received a letter from him in the mail. He asked to be involved with our son, to provide for him, etc. It still felt weird. I mean, he turned really mean and didn't want anything to do with me or our baby, and hadn't made any attempt to contact me in years, and I was not hiding. His wife was obviously able to find me on social media, and you can find my address online. I felt like, if he was serious, he'd take the steps to establish paternity legally, and that's what he did. Around 1.5 months ago, we were ordered to submit DNA samples for a paternity test. It took around 5 weeks to find out what I already knew it'd say, but now things are stalled for another several weeks for the next step in the court process. I haven't talked to him at all during this whole thing. I didn't respond directly to his letter. I do have a lawyer, and everything is basically going through him now. Then, without any warning, he just showed up at my home last weekend. Just knocked on the door like it was nothing. Basically, this is his son, and he doesn't want to wait another 6 weeks for the court to inevitably order us into some sort of custody mediation anyway, his words. Why can't I just talk to him? I told him he made me uncomfortable, and him just showing up at my house really made me uncomfortable. Honestly, I don't know what made me so uncomfortable. The fact that he showed up unannounced like that, or the fact that I instantly felt the same attraction to him that I had when I was with him, and I didn't want to feel that at all. In some weird way, part of me felt happy to see him, and then another part of me was disgusted that I was happy. He said he doesn't understand why we can't just talk about this. He's not trying to take my son away from me. He just wants to be involved in his life and to help provide for him like he should have been all along. He's sorry he wasn't there when he was born. He's sorry he reacted the way that he did when I didn't go along with his plans to take me on an abortion vacation. Why can't I believe that he just wants to be a dad to his kid? I guess I agree with him. Why can't I just accept that he has had a change of heart? I can't trust myself. I can't trust my own judgment. I feel like if I easily let him into my son's life, I'm going to end up regretting it and be made a fool of somehow. I've already made so many mistakes when it comes to him. He says it's stupid of me to not try to work it out amongst ourselves first. I'm giving so much control to the court. I don't know whether to believe that or to think it's just his way of convincing me to do what he wants. I know he will get some sort of visitation and eventual custody. Maybe it would be better if we try to come to an agreement, but he had the ability to sway me so easily. I'm so stupid when it comes to him. Nobody else has ever made me feel so foolish in my life. I want my son to have a dad. I admit it's probably selfish of me to want to keep him away. I just keep imagining having to spend weeks or months apart from my child while he's living with his dad 12 hours away, and I can't stand the thought of it. I'm just feeling sad, stupid, and defeated. I had a baby as the result of an affair, updated custody, and my sad, jealous mummy heart. Since everyone got mad at me for posting a recap of my situation in my previous posts, I won't even go there. If you're interested in the backstory, you can read my previous posts. All I will say is that I have a 3-year-old son who was conceived with an affair I had with a married man. After initially making me promise to not contact him, to not name him as the father, and to not request child support, my child's father has been pursuing involvement in our son's life over the last several months. He lives states away, and most recently, he showed up at my house to try to convince me to work things out directly with him. Since the last time I posted, we've recently had a mediation session, and he's met our son twice. At this time, he will have supervised visitation with me present. Because he lives states away, he is required to come here to see our son. It will not be on a weekly basis due to the travel. He will see him during 2 weeks of the month, 2 times each week for a total of 4 visits a month plus 2 video calls a month. This will last for 6 months. The next step will be for him to continue that schedule, but to have unsupervised visitation, during which he cannot remove him from the area, for another 6 months. After a year, we agree to have another mediation session to determine next steps with his goal, of being able to have my son at his home for short overnights. I'm not even ready to discuss that. He's already suggesting I can come for the first few times. I don't like the sound of it at all. We also have the option to request another mediation before 1 year, and something tells me he's going to pull that. I also have an order for child support. While he is in agreement with paying child support, it will have to work through the court system before becoming official, and for me to start getting the regular payment. He wrote me a large check in the meantime. I was hesitant to accept it. Not that I don't think my son deserves it, but now I'm just always worried I'll say or do the wrong thing legally, completely unknowingly, and shoot myself in the foot. Like, am I obligated to myself and my son to anything by accepting this check? Can he somehow spin this against me? Of course, he was not in favor of the 6-month plan, and while he does understand that my son should not just go off with a stranger upon first meeting him, he wishes we could speed it along a little more, but 6 months was what we were able to agree on. He wanted to fly us both to where he lived, so he could spend a week or 2 getting to know our son, but I don't feel that's appropriate at this time. Perhaps in a few months, or around the holidays, depending on how things are going, it would be too much too soon. The initial 2 meetings went pretty much just as I thought they would. My son is extremely shy. He wanted to hide behind me most of the time. Then, when he would venture out from behind me, as soon as his dad would say anything to him, he would scurry back behind me and just stare at his dad blankly without saying anything. He came out of his shell a little bit. However, he has still not said a single word to his dad. He just pretends like his dad isn't there and only talks to me. I will say that his dad is being patient and understanding as far as that goes. If he's frustrated, he's not showing it. He did suggest that maybe our son needs to get out more, go to daycare more, or even preschool instead of spending so much time with me and my parents. He's very delighted with how much our son looks like him, and how much he favors him over me. The one thing that did bother me is that I already told him I wanted to be very careful and mindful of how we informed our son, this little barely 3-year-old boy, that this man or complete stranger is his dad. He said, "Sure, yeah." Then at the first meeting, he introduced himself as Dad. Since then, I've been trying to help my son understand. Like, you know how your grandpa is my daddy? This guy is your daddy. It's so surreal to me that any of this is happening. I feel like I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for something to blow up in my face. Now it's just working on accepting our new reality. All of this change is hard and confusing for my son, and it's hard for me. Unless he really fucks up, I'm looking at eventually shared times with my son, spending school breaks and holidays at his dad's house, hours and hours away in another state. It won't happen tomorrow, but it will happen in the most likely reality. I just hope he stays committed. If he can be a good dad to my child, then my child deserves that, no matter how sad sharing him makes me. If he breaks my son's heart, that'll be another story, and I won't accept that so readily. Am I the a-hole for not caring about my wife getting STDs? I have been married to my wife for 4 years, together 8 years, and we have a son, toddler, together. I did make a post about my marriage problems a week ago, but it was removed for some reason. So for context, around 6 or 7 months ago, I struggled with some mental and medical problems that made my libido go down to the point we had a dead bedroom for 4 months. About 2 months ago, my wife asked me to open our marriage because she is frustrated and disappointed in our bed life, and she also started acting cold around me before that. At that point I was very stressed and anxious, so I easily agreed to save our marriage, and we had some agreement, so she seems to come back to normal, and I feel relieved. A week ago she suddenly wanted sex with me again, and I slightly rejected, because I was still trying to improve my mental health. She broke out, and we had arguments which led her to leave the house and stay with her sister. After 2 days, my son started to ask about his mom, and I feel awful because I have to lie to him. She didn't answer my call or text, so I tried to contact her sister but got no answer to. On the 3rd day, suddenly my sister-in-law contacted me. When I picked up, she yelled at me, called me all the names, and said I'm the a-hole for letting my wife deal with STDs alone. I was frozen and said what? She said she found out medicines and medical records of my wife, and hung up. I'm now feeling like a mess and heartbroken. After 3 days of thinking, it's not just made me feel like she betrayed our agreement about it, but it makes me scared that, did she try to make me get STDs too? I'm feeling like our marriage is over, but our son is still very young. I don't know what to do now. Please give me some advice. Update: I did the test, and I'm healthy. My doctor still recommends a few more tests next week, just to be sure. My wife just admitted she cheated on me and got gonorrhea. Am I the a-hole? If I want to leave, I did make a post here, but I don't know how to tag it. For a summary, 6 months ago, I had some mental and medical problems that prevented me from having sex with her. She convinced me to get into an open marriage, and she had it for 2 months. Until 2 weeks ago, she suddenly wanted to be intimate again, and when I refused, she got angry and left. I couldn't contact her for a whole week until her sister called, accusing me of having an affair and giving her STDs. I immediately went to the doctor, and it was confirmed that I didn't have it. I tried to contact her sister again, but I was blocked by all her family. 2 days ago, she drove home for the first time to visit our son, toddler, whom she had abandoned with me for more than a week. We sat down and talked. She admitted that she had known this person for 3 weeks before I agreed to open the relationship. I asked about the STDs that her sister told me about, and her face turned pale. I had to urge her a few times until she admitted that she has gonorrhea, and that the other partner had lied to her about his medical condition and protection methods, and he had already cut off contact with her. I asked her if she knew and wanted to infect me that day. She was silent for a few minutes until she burst into tears and begged me to forgive her, saying that it was just a foolish thought in a panic and fear. I lost my temper, yelled at her, and kicked her out of the house. I said we were done. I'm feeling so many emotions: heartbreak, anger. I don't know what I feel anymore, but it's so painful. I was with her for 8 years, and I thought we would be together forever. My in-laws and our mutual friends all sent me a bunch of messages telling me to forgive her, and that she knew she was wrong and had already gotten her karma. They said I should think about my son, and how difficult it would be if I wanted to get custody of him, and they were right. I no longer have contact with relatives or anyone I can rely on, so I feel very hopeless. What should I do? Can I forgive her after all this to start again? Edit. Sorry for some details. I did not clarify. In my old post, I made it when I didn't remember the full details about what my sister-in-law cussed me out for because I was in shock about my wife getting STDs. I did bring that up to my wife in the conversation, and she admitted she lied to her family that I cheated on her. Update. So, first of all, thank you to everyone who gave me good advice and kind words. I'm very appreciative of the support. Now to my update. My wife and I are separating now. I'm currently hiring a part-time nanny to take care of my son while I'm at work, even though I already cut back my work hours. I did find a lawyer to advise me about the divorce procedure and what I would lose after the divorce. He also said I needed to collect more evidence that my wife really wanted to infect me, though I think it's quite hard because she doesn't want to talk about it anymore. The charges we made, such as abandonment or adultery, seem like they won't work either. My wife has started visiting our son 4 times a week now. She now acts like a good mother and begs me to do couples therapy. Her treatment is complete. She said that she has closed the marriage from her side, and she is willing to set the post up how I want if I give her a chance. Her family is still texting about how her days are miserable without me and our child. I kind of ignore them. I haven't blocked them in case things break down, so I still have a record. That is my update. I'm still getting used to the lifestyle of just me and my child. I have agreed to marriage counseling with her this Saturday, though I don't think it will change anything. So this last story, I found it as a linked post while looking for updates to story 4. I don't think they're the same person, even though the stories are very similar. So I decided to just put it as story 5. Am I the a-hole for having sex with another person after my wife wanted to open up our marriage? Hey guys, so my wife and I have been married for 8 years now. We've had a fair bit of ups and downs during our marriage. 5 years ago, I found out that my wife had cheated on me with a man she knew from Tinder. She told me that after they hooked up 3 times or so, at first I was shocked and wanted to divorce because cheating is a no-go for me. However, she told me how sorry she was and that she only loves me, and she was really trying her best to show me that I can trust her again. And I did. Now, let me introduce you to my wife's best friend, Chris. They've known each other for 15 years or so, and whenever we had issues, she always ran to him to talk. Chris is single. He has had some relationships, but they never lasted that long. I know he has feelings for my wife. He is always telling me that he wants a girlfriend who is just like my wife and keeps telling her that I do not deserve her. I never thought much about it because in my head, Chris is kind of a bootlicker and I never thought that he had a chance with my wife. Fast forward to 6 months ago, we again had our ups and downs and my wife shocked me with the suggestion of opening up our marriage. I was shocked and immediately told her that I don't want that. At this point, we had not had sex for like 8 months or so. She was never in the mood. After trying many times to have sex with her, I just kind of stopped because I did not want to push her. I love sex, and being sexless for 8 months made me really unhappy. So the more I thought about her suggestion, the more I wanted to try it out, so I agreed. She was baffled at first, but in the end we both agreed and made up some rules which involved. There are no feelings involved, either from us or the person we have sex with. No sex in our apartment. We tell each other when we have sex with someone else, and we always use protection. I have a coworker. Let's call her Sarah. She is a very flirtatious girl, and I always thought she was a bit into me. One night after our shift ended, we walked to the bus stop together, and I told her about the open marriage thing. She was immediately all ears and very interested. She joked that if I want to shoot my shot, I can always ask her. So I did. I told her about the rules and the feelings thing. She made it very clear that she finds me sexually attractive, but that there are no feelings. The next day, I talked to my wife about my coworker, and she told me I can go for it. Some days later, I went to Sarah's place and we had sex. It felt good, but it was not the same feeling as having sex with my wife. The following days, my wife was really quiet, and we did not talk at all. I knew something was wrong, so I confronted her. I thought maybe it was because of me having sex with Sarah. Oh boy, was I wrong. She told me that Chris and she had sex. After hearing this, I fucking screamed at her, and we got into a huge fight. Not only did she break the rule of not telling me when she has sex with someone else, but she also broke the first rule about feelings. Her excuse was that we never made it clear when we should tell each other about having sex with someone else before it happens or afterward. But what really tipped me off was that she was trying to convince me that Chris has no feelings for her. In her eyes, I was overreacting way too much. I have not talked to her for 2 days now, and I'm staying at a friend's house at the moment. In my head, I keep thinking that Chris is somehow manipulating her, so she separates from me. So am I the a-hole? Edit. Seems like I am a bootlicker myself. Oh, the irony. Update. Thanks to all the harsh comments calling me a bitch, idiot, doormat, etc. It really made me realize what a fucking loser I am. Anyhow, here's an update and answers to some questions. Yes, my wife is fairly attractive. I've heard that from colleagues on multiple occasions. She's that Pilates or yoga fitness type of woman. She got a boob job 6 years ago, which I paid for El Mayo. Nice ass, brown hair, green eyes. Me, on the other hand, I'm fairly average looking. Besides my height and physique, I don't have anything else going for me. Because of my wife's fitness addiction, I got into it as well and as a result got pretty jacked. My best friend, and I came to the conclusion that she's only with me for financial security. I have a solid education, a well-paying job, and my parents are wealthy. My wife has not been working for 3 years or so. I was also planning on buying a house this year. Yes, I think so too, that my wife had sex with Chris and probably other men before the incident. Let's get to the update, however. I am still at my friend's place. In my mind, this marriage is over, and I am filing for divorce. I tried to tell her that yesterday over the phone, but she was not answering my calls for 3 hours or so, so I sent her a text before going to bed, telling her that it is probably best to separate and that I want to file for divorce. I woke up to an excess of messages. She was angry at me at first, but shifted to apologizing and wanting to work things out. We agreed on seeing each other today, so the next update will probably be the last one. Update 2. This will probably be my last update. I just had lunch with my wife, and it was blatantly obvious how she was trying to manipulate me again. She confessed everything. She and Chris had sex for over a year now. She started crying and said how it is all her fault, and how she wants to get back with me. However, I've had enough of this. I told her that I'm going to file for divorce, and left her crying at the restaurant. Meanwhile, I've already made arrangements with our family lawyer. I'm staying at my dad's place for a couple of days so things can cool off a bit. He's very supportive and is actively helping me with the divorce. Thank you again for all the comments. I might do another update in a week or so. We will see how this shit show is going to end. These stories were a whirlwind, messy, chaotic, and just the right amount of what did I just listen to. Thanks for sticking with me through it all. And hey, lately I've been seeing a lot of Reddit posts about open relationships, how they started, how they crashed and burned. Or didn't, and I can't lie, I'm intrigued thinking of doing a video on that soon. What do you think? Would you guys care for it? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like the video. If you enjoyed the ride, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.